Coming up, the Bahamas signs another tax agreement. Find out what it means for the country. The budget moves through the Senate as the deadline is only days away. And the Bahamas AIDS Foundation need your help. The Bahamas Tonight, the national report, starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
Government signs its 33rd Tax Information Exchange Agreement. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson. Minister of State for Finance, the Honorable Michael Halkitis, signed the Tax Information Exchange Agreement on behalf of the Bahamas government, along with Indonesia's representative, His Excellency Ambassador Cornelius. Minister Halkitis says the agreement affirms the Bahamas' commitment to the ongoing work of the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development's Global Forum on Transparency and Tax Information Exchange and its peer review process. His comments made as the Bahamas is vigorously pursuing talks with the OECD to determine exactly the reasons why this country has been blacklisted by the European Union recently.
Our jurisdiction observes the highest standards of transparency and cooperation in tax matters. The fact that we have been able to execute 33 agreements with countries around the world, the Western Hemisphere, Europe, Asia, I think it's a demonstration of the government of the Bahamas' commitment for transparency, to have a jurisdiction that has regulation that meets international best practices. And then through that cooperation, we strengthen our relations and explore opportunities for cooperation in other areas, trade, etc.
Meantime, His Excellency Ambassador Cornelius of Indonesia called the agreement historic for his country.
For us, it is very significant, very decisive one, because in our annual budget every year, tax income contributes over 70%. So that's why the transparency through this cooperation, I believe that our common effort to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency in the tax effort will be beneficial for our two sides.
ZNS News following a developing story tonight. BTC employees upset after an emergency union meeting where the union hinted at industrial action being a possibility after learning that 140 workers would be made redundant next week. RCS Galley is following this developing story.
BTC sponsors everything in this country. They sponsored the World Relays, they sponsored Carifta, they sponsored all of these events. But when are they going to invest in the employees of this country?
After learning that 140 employees will be made redundant as of next week Tuesday, union members were outraged.
BTC in just reached. Bahamas Telecommunication Company was here long time. Our ancestors know about this company. This was built on the sweat and tears of Bahamians. So Bahamians need to rise up.
Those redundancies are reportedly set to take place in the following areas: field services, riggers, contact centers in Nassau and Grand Bahama, directory publication, warehouse, and stores. However, ZNS News understands that staffing in the Family Islands will not be affected. Many of the members who attended the brief meeting were extremely upset. Joining in solidarity with the BCPOU was executives of the National Congress of Trade Unions and the union representing employees at BEC.
You know what? I think the time has come to shut this country down.
Meantime, Evans says anything can happen come tomorrow morning at 9.
Everything that's available to us in our arsenal, we're going to do it. There's one thing we haven't done, and might have to use that going forward.
Sia Scatterly, ZNS Network News.
Debate on the budget continued in the Senate this morning. PLP Senators Tanisha, Tynes and Senator Vice President Joseph Curry touting government's fiscal prudence while responding to the needs of many Bahamians with a number of tax reductions and eliminations. Both senators stating that the foundation is being set for a stronger Bahamas.
Mediterranean Shipping Company has agreed with Hutchinson Whampoa to initiate the $250 million expansion of the Freeport container terminal. Based on the economic input study, the projected annual economic impact will produce 600 direct and indirect jobs. MSC is currently in negotiations with the government to lease an island for the creation of an exclusive port in the northern Bahamas. The creation of a maritime training facility for Bahamians in Freeport, and the hiring of Bahamians on board its ships.
I can say that this budget forecasts an additional 1,000 new housing units to the inventory of the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation through the issuance of a $100 million bond. 1,000 Bahamians, 1,000 families will be the beneficiary of new housing over the next 2 years.
Also contributing was F&M Chairman Senator Michael Pintard. He sought to poke holes in government's Stronger Bahamas initiative and took government to task over a number of national issues, including the lowering of the national debt. He called on government to put legislation in place to ensure that funds collected from that go to the national debt.
Destroy the habitat where criminals flourish. So if there's an area, if there's a house, where people have been committing the same crimes for decades, how do you explain that they're still engaged in criminal behavior in the very same location? That's why the public do not take some political figures seriously, because they know that we have an opportunity to make a difference, and we are refusing. In this case, this government is refusing to allocate the resources.
For his part, Senator Frank Smith says he supports the budget and believes it will bring about a stronger Bahamas. Smith last night credited value-added tax for helping improve the fiscal performance of the country that he says is on the path to recovery.
Those in opposition were very vocal and appeared to be doomsday promoters. However, with the passage of time and the examples and the results, the Bahamian public has been able to conduct a separation of fact between fact and fiction to see that that is good for the Bahamas and the Bahamian people. The concept that a taxation system and a tax that is more modern, more fair, and secures revenue in pursuance of the creation of a stronger Bahamas is only truly assisted at this stage and resisted at this stage by those with, in fact, selfish motives.
This portion of the news is brought to you by the new Shell and Leaded, designed for extra miles.